So today's the day that we're heading into the doctors to find out all of the results from our last failed round of IVF, and hopefully we'll get some answers today, including what the protocol and the timing for our next try for harvest and then transfer. So yeah, I'll let you know what's happening after our appointment. Our doctor's appointment this afternoon. Then Chad and I went out for late lunch, early dinner, close to the clinic because I was starving just in case I had to do a weigh-in for this next round. So you know, off the bat, we will not be doing our next IVF round in the next week, which is kind of what I was thinking we would be doing. And I'll go into the reasons for that once we start answering some of the questions that I had for the doctor and he answered. But we will be aiming to start at the beginning of January. We were looking at maybe postponing out to the beginning of February. But the problem is I have a friend's wedding, or we have a friend's wedding in Bali in late February, and it would have been cutting it really close. And the worst thing you want to do is if you're doing IVF and doing all the injections and everything, and then you can't do retrieval surgery or you can't do your transfer because you're overseas. So part of the reason we want to, push it forward a little bit is we don't want to have to try and do it in February. Anyway, so I guess my first big question for the doctor was, why did our embryos not make it to the day 5 transfer? So there's a couple of things that go into that. Like I said, I've got my notes here so I don't forget. And then kind of tied with that question was what kind of number of eggs were we aiming for? Was 3 a normal number of embryos to get from 10 eggs? And I understand that all of this have different parameters and normal is very kind of loose, but I knew that there would be he'd be able to give me some more clarity as to like what to expect. And pretty much he said we are trying to aim for 6 to 8 eggs, and the reason that they're aiming for that, so I ended up with, initially it was 9, then they found a 10th one, and we know out of those 10, 6 eggs were mature. So when you only do or aim to try and get 6 to 8 eggs, there's a better likelihood that those eggs are mature rather than trying to aim for big numbers for lesser quality and maybe not getting as mature eggs. So I did have 6 mature eggs, which was good. But the amount of embryos we got from that is they really are aiming to get or should get to 80-90% success rate from mature eggs to embryos. So I only got like 30 from 10. So about 30% from the 10 eggs. So really out of 10 eggs, or even out of 6 mature eggs, I should have gotten at least like 5 or 6 like embryos. So there was a bit of an issue. So one of the other questions I had were, do they automatically do genetic testing? Was there a problem with the way the sperm interacted with the egg at the conception? I guess, to be honest, I had a bit of a fear about what if our sperm and eggs are not compatible. And so the answers to those were they don't do genetic testing unless they think it's necessary. All of Chad and I's genetic testing and blood tests we did before starting IVF all seemed normal. So for him, there was no reason to do genetic testing. And again, that's something that they only do if there's kind of warning signs there might be issues with. And again, remember that this is all for my doctor, my clinic. I know that in other places, their process might be different. So if you're going somewhere else, please don't think that this is the only thing. It's just, this is what my clinic does and this is what my doctor does from his experience. So the initial interaction between the sperm and the egg were good. That's why we ended up with 3 embryos. The problem, as far as I understand, is what happened is that at like day 3, they were looking good still. And then because our day 5 was over the weekend, so our day 4 and day 5 were kind of like the Saturday, Sunday. So, yeah, I think that's right. Anyway, so pretty much over the weekend, they didn't make it. So what he was saying is that our embryos started fragmenting. So they were fragmented embryos. So as I was kind of looking at this a bit more and trying to work out exactly what that meant, is where fragmented embryos, as far as I understand, is where portions of the embryo start to detach or separate from the main group of cells. And so they're not staying together, they're actually starting to fragment. And the thing is with that, is that you can have fragmented embryos and they still can result in healthy human babies, right? But there is a much higher chance for day 5 blastus, I think that's how you say it, blastocyst embryos, to survive the transfer and become babies, healthy pregnancies, than maybe a day 2 or 3 embryo. And that's because a lot of the separating and that kind of stuff can happen in you, can still result in a pregnancy, but not always. And so if you are doing earlier transfers, like a day 2 or 3, there is a greater chance for early miscarriage. So I'm quite happy with the day 5 transfer. It does mean there is a chance that possibly some of our fragmented embryos may have made it inside, but realistically for us, I think we are trying to get healthier embryos to implant and have a greater chance of success to a full-term pregnancy. Hope that's kind of making sense. So what kind of happened from there is that the fragmenting of the embryos, as far as I could understand that he was explaining, is kind of like sperm related. Again, maybe the fact that I didn't, out of the number I got, not a huge percent of my eggs were mature, may have, interfered with that as well. But the ones that we did implant, only half of them, of the mature eggs, only half of the mature eggs actually fertilized. So for our next try, for our next round of IVF, he really wants us to work on sperm health and egg health. And so that's why we're not doing it straight away. So what he is recommending for Chad is to get him on CoQ10, which you've already been on, but it's already been a couple months since then. It's been in his system longer, and honestly, it's a good supplement. We're both on it, so I'm happy to stick with that. But they also want to get Chad on Menavit, and it's not some cure-all or anything like that, but it is supposed to help with repairing and giving extra supplements and nutrients to the sperm, and that can happen in quite a quick amount of time, especially since he's been doing the CoQ10 for his sperm production anyway. So he's going to work on that, and then what he has recommended for me, which should help with the fragmenting. It should help keep them all the cells together better. And again, he said that the kind of magic number of time for taking this is the 6 weeks. It plateaus after that. So even if we had waited till we couldn't do the February one because of our friend's wedding, we would have had to wait till March, and there wouldn't have really been any extra benefit for either of us being on those supplements that much longer. So we decided we're going to aim for the January round 2. So what he wants me on is melatonin, and honestly I was really surprised about that, because to me that's a natural sleep aid, but yeah, apparently melatonin's supposed to help with cell rejuvenation or something like that. I'm sure you can look it up yourself, but that is something he wants us both to be on. And so if I start taking it now, because we picked up the supplements this afternoon after our appointment, we will pretty much be on the 6 week by the time we do the harvest again. So he was going to recommend, even if we did it, we said to heck with waiting, and we're going to go ahead and do it the moment I start, which would be next couple of days. He would then also put me on the melatonin anyway. So this way, I think it gives us a bit of a reprieve, I guess, over Christmas. The last couple of days, again, it's a bit torture trying to make sure that my weight is under that magic number so that I don't get postponed because of my weight. I have been playing football and really enjoying it, so now I know I get to play through the next couple of games till we break for Christmas, which is only a little thing. Like, that wouldn't have been make or break for me. Like, I wouldn't have postponed my next round just for that, but again, it's something that if you've been watching, you know that I love and enjoy, so I'm happy to go forward with that. Just trying to look at any of the other questions I had. Like I said, I had a whole page of them. So one of the other questions I had was, will my age affect our next protocol? So I am on a stimulate first and then suppress. So that's what I'm doing. So with my age, he said, no, I'm 34. I turn 35 in July of next year, so another 6 months away. And if you are like me and look at that stuff online, of course, 35 is that number where your odds start to drop off. So for me, I guess I've been trying to want to get pregnant before 35, but at the end of the day, look, you know, God's got it in his hands and I've got to trust him and his timing. But no, he wouldn't do anything different at this point. So some other things that I noticed while on the hormones is that I felt like my hair was thinning a little bit, and I'm not sure if you can see, but I have all these really short fuzzies now, and I don't feel like I was going bald or anything like that. So I don't know whether that was a flux in the hormones or whatever. He kind of laughed like maybe it was to do with the hormones, but you know, not 100% sure. It's not necessarily common, but it's all growing back, so it's not like I'm going bald. Just being blonde, I just look like it. So maybe you guys have some input. Maybe you've experienced a bit of hair loss with the hormone fluctuation. I would love it if you would let me know in the comments below. That would be great. And the other thing, and I did take this quite seriously, especially since a family member is going through this, But I found a lump in my breast, and it was, it felt like the normal fatty tissue, and it was fairly even on both sides, but it was painful, and that made me a little concerned. So it was a little inflamed on the left side compared to my right side, and it was quite tender to the touch. I wasn't freaking out, but I did want to hear from him. I did some research as best as I could on my own about flare-ups with breast tissue, especially while doing hormones, and that is pretty common. He pretty much said if you are in pain with a lump, there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is cancer, but it would be probably stage 4 breast cancer, and you should have noticed the lump before then. When you initially discover the lump, it's usually not painful. It's when it starts to get into the tissue and bone and other stuff that the pain causes from cancer. Please don't take this as gospel. If you are concerned, you need to go to your doctor and work it out. I wasn't really concerned, but I did want to take it seriously. So the other reasons is that there may have been an infection, and so maybe I had got an infection right there. The other one was a big flux in hormones, and of course I've just been pumped full of them. So in the last couple of days, the lump has almost resolved itself and there's no pain anymore. I will keep a close eye on that, especially going forward with other rounds of IVF. If it starts to flare up or I notice a lump out of place, I will definitely go get it checked out. I promise you. What they'll do different really this next round is just working on getting our sperm and eggs as healthy as we can over the next month and a half. And then he may want to adjust the dosages. So because I got 10 eggs, they actually upped my dosage halfway through my first round. At about day 5, they upped my dose of my stimulant. So they may want to, I thought they were just going to pump me full of extra hormones, but they may actually want to pull me off. So he will go into those details closer to the time. But yeah, all in all, I'm feeling pretty good. I am looking forward to Christmas, and if you are going through this, just hold on, hang in there. Know that I'm praying for you guys, and I am really excited about moving forward with this next round. And I just don't get discouraged. Like, if you don't get the news that you were expecting, like I really was expecting to start this next round and just go high on the hormones and kind of up the dosages, and that's not what was right for us. You have to trust your doctors, and if you're not trusting your doctors, it's really worth looking around. The doctor that I have, like I've said in other vlogs, is the doctor who diagnosed me with endometriosis when no one else did. So I already know that he's on the ball for my health and wanting to move forward with this pregnancy as much as we do. And I trust his wisdom. He's very good at what he does, and he's got a really good success rate. So I'm just ready for this next one. So guys, I've got a game tomorrow, so I've got to go to bed, and considering now I have to take the melatonin as well, hopefully I'll go to bed a little earlier than I have been, and I look forward to checking in with you guys next week. All right, bye.